Oh, my name is Oliver Berliner.
And I'm Reno Bankin.
And now I bet all of you are thinking to yourselves, wouldn't it be great if I just knew all about the news right now?
And you know what? You came to the right place, like you had a choice. Because we have some news for you from around the world, but mostly in the America, the only important world.
For our first national news story, we have Obama's address to the nation from the Oval Office. On Sunday, Obama gave a speech in response to the recent ISIS attacks and the San Bernardino shooting.
Obama used his power of persuasion to urge Americans to not react in a violent way towards Islam in the country, and to ensure that the nation is actually quite well equipped to deal with terrorism. After the shooting and during the speech, Obama is reported to have said,
"I know that after so much war, many Americans are asking whether we are confronted by a cancer that has no immediate cure. The threat from terrorism is real, but we will overcome it." In response to this, Jeb Bush posted on Facebook the following.
President Obama has finally been forced to abandon the political fantasy he has perpetuated for years that the threat of terrorism was receding. We need to remove the self-imposed restraints President Obama has placed on our intelligence community and military, and we need to put it in place an aggressive strategy to defeat ISIS and radical Islamic terrorism as I have proposed. Unfortunately, neither he nor Hillary Clinton has the resolve to put in place such a strategy.
And Donald Trump posted on Twitter this.
Well, Obama refused to say, he refused to say it, that we are at war with radical Islamic terrorists. This is a perfect example of President Obama using his constitutional power to address the nation, as well as using the bully pulpit to make sure that every American does not freak out about radical Islamic terrorism. For our second national news story on the same note, Donald Trump has recently stated that he has a plan that if he's president to bar all Muslims, not just Syrian refugees, but all Muslims from entering the country. NBC has stated on their website that Trump's proposal was vague, unrealistic, potentially unconstitutional, and very unlikely to be adopted as law. And it's mostly been universally condemned by people actually in both parties, including Lindsey Graham, who called it downright dangerous.
This is an example of the media and the public's role as the watchdog on Donald Trump, as many in both parties have suggested that he step down from the race.
Hey, Oliver, if Donald Trump is president, he might round up all the Muslims and put them in some sort of secluded camp. Doesn't that remind you of anything? Maybe a dark spot in our nation's history?
Oh yeah, that reminds me a lot of Japanese internment.
Yeah, and maybe before that he'll have wear some sort of badge or something to make people be able to recognize them in public. Doesn't that sound a little bit Holocausty?
For our third news story, the United States attended the UN Climate Change Summit. At this summit, they had talks about possible changes to the way we view the climate. And they laid out options ranging from long-term goals for slowing climate change to rising climate finance for developing nations, which will be resolved by the UN, and they will finally come to a conclusion this Friday. For our local news story, how could we not talk about the horrific events in San Bernardino? This past week, a couple of radical Islamic terrorists went to a mental facility for a holiday party and shot and killed 14 people.
The terror couple of Saeed Rizwan Farouk and Tashveen Malik apparently have been spending the last couple of years, maybe possibly since 2012, preparing for this attack. They've been reported to within the last year, have been using a shooting range in Riverside, California to practice their shooting skills, and have taken a loan possibly as high as $28,500, a deposit that was found in their bank account for their family plans after their death for one of their grandparents and their daughter.
I would just like to take this time to say that we as a nation need to gather our thoughts and recognize that the problem here is not ISIS. ISIS, while yes, it is a huge issue that we have to deal with, is not the core of the problem. The core is people like Donald Trump, who say horrific things that make these Islamic people far away and at home hate America, and we need to stop so that they realize we are all fighting for the same thing. For our editorial piece, we have an anonymous writer who wrote in the LA Times an editorial called Trump Sinks Lower. This is about how Donald Trump's recent quotations, should we call them, in the past month have only continued to sink his standing in our moral eyes.
Yeah, it almost makes you wonder why he's the front runner, because it seems that so many people are against, even people in high positions, other people on his side, people on the right field, basically. Other conservative candidates have been saying that this guy is a nut job, and plenty of people don't agree with him. It's just very interesting that he has the poll numbers that he does.
The real question here is it a joke? Are people giving him the support as a joke? And if so, how long will the joke continue? Because if it continues to the White House, then we have a joke as president. Of
course, it's also possible that there's a lot of response bias coming from a lot of these polls and stats, for interviewing stats. A lot of response bias that only people who are passionate about Donald Trump or other Republican frontrunners are actually voting, rather than people who are more moderate, which would definitely hurt Jeb Bush or Chris Christie in the polls.
The article continues by talking about Trump's recent statements about Muslims. And as we stated earlier in the podcast, they compare him to Japanese internment, and that even Ronald Reagan, who is a Republican, has given compensation to Japanese people who are remnants of the internment, and has made a formal apology for that. And still, Donald Trump obeys these policies that are authoritarian.
Yeah, we made a joke earlier about how it's a lot like Japanese internment, but honestly, the fear that is coming from radical Islamic terrorism, and of just Islam in general in our country it's really going down the path of another world war almost. Because if America, which is a free country, is resorting again to such methods that we did with the Japanese, it's just World War II again, and it's almost as if we are like the Nazis. We made a joke earlier, but it is quite serious that if a president were to be put in office, possibly Donald Trump, or another president that is very reactionary against Muslims, if we were to start persecuting them the way the Nazis persecuted the Jews, or any other sort of race that wasn't necessarily the Aryan race, that's against American principles, and I believe America fought against the Nazis in World War II.
And also, the article mentions that people did talk to Trump about Japanese internment, and when he was asked if he would support it back, he said he would have to be there. And this is unacceptable, as it's quite obvious that it was one of the darkest moments in our history. And for him to say he might have agreed with it had he been there at the time, and he might employ such a thing if he had been there, is really quite awful to have in a presidential nominee. It seems that every time Donald Trump is asked something, how are you going to do this, Donald Trump? He doesn't say how. And they ask him again, but how exactly are you going to do it?
I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. That's how. It's just good management. It's just good management.
He's a very smart man.
He's the best memory, everyone. I'm Donald Trump, and I have the best memory of anyone in the world.
And you can trust him.
Yeah, I'm like an elephant, except I'm much more handsome.
Thank you for listening, and stay classy, Culver City.
Wait, oh no, you can't. That's from. We gotta.
No, I made that up.
No, you gotta come up with. No, okay, Oliver, you might have thought.
I made it up.
What? No, but it's in a movie. It's in a movie, The Anchorman. That you can't.
That's not a real movie.
What? Do another one.
All right, go.
Whoa! No, you can't. That's all. First of all, that's also at this point. It's obvious you've seen the movie. Second of all, you cannot say that.
Oh my.
Bye.